Hey Bears fans, we're back with an exclusive video and the latest updates on our beloved Chicago Bears. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. That way, you'll always stay up to date with breaking news and exclusive content. The first round of the 2025 NFL Draft is officially in the books, and it's time to dive into Chicago's decision, break down their only selection of the night, give a grade to the Coast and Loveland, pick and start thinking about what's ahead for day 2. There's a lot of talent still available, and the team holds the 39th and 41st picks in the second round, which builds up a lot of anticipation. Now, even though we already went over a quick reaction earlier, it's been a few hours, and I've had time to process everything. My overall take hasn't changed that much. If it were up to me, I would have taken Tyler Warren instead of Loveland, since Warren was still on the board, but that doesn't mean this pick was bad at all. Loveland was ranked 14th overall by most analysts, so taking him at number 10 isn't crazy. In fact, a few teams had him ranked even higher than Warren, and it seems Chicago's front office was among them. Since our earlier reaction, more info has surfaced suggesting that Loveland might bring even more upside to the offense than initially thought. Because of that, I'm not handing out an A grade here. I'm giving the pick a solid B-. That's just where I stand. It's one of those moments where trusting your evaluation process is crucial. Personally, Warren would have been my guy, but I get why the Bears went the route they did. When you look at Loveland's tape, he's a clean route runner. He moves smoothly across the field and has plenty of growth potential still ahead. He just turned 21 earlier this month, meaning he's about 2 years younger than a lot of the players in this draft class. What Chicago is banking on here is not just who Loveland is right now, but what he could become. If we're talking strictly about upside, Loveland might have more room to grow than Warren, particularly as a blocker and a complete tight end. And let's not forget, he still put up nearly 600 yards last year, despite playing in an offense that has serious issues with quarterback play. They were rotating QBs like crazy, and Loveland still managed to shine. That says a lot about his ability to make things happen on his own. Again, it's not an A-grade pick for me because I personally preferred Warren, but that doesn't mean I doubt Loveland's potential to be a high-level professional. I fully believe he can become a solid weapon. And honestly, he was pretty much considered a top 15 prospect across the board. His absolute floor seemed to be pick 14, so grabbing him at 10 makes sense when you look at how the board was shaping up. Had Chicago gone with Warren at 10, there's a good chance Loveland wouldn't have even made it to 14. He probably would have been scooped up by the Colts. So when you stack it all up, a B- feels fair. A good pick, not a home run, but definitely a player with a high ceiling. If Warren hadn't been on the board, I might have bumped it up to a B+, because beyond those two, there wasn't a glaring option that I would have preferred over Loveland. He was right there among a small handful of top-tier talents left when Chicago was on the clock. The other players that went shortly after didn't scream better option to me. If someone had told me ahead of time that Loveland was the guy, I would have said, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. From a scheme fit perspective, you can see why Chicago leaned Loveland's way. They obviously see him fitting perfectly into the system they're trying to build. There's a lot of buzz about him being viewed as the best pure tight end prospect in this class. While I still think Warren offers a bit more versatility in terms of lining up all over the field, Loveland fits the mold of that traditional but dynamic tight end that can dominate matchups. It's about the type of player you want, and Chicago clearly decided Loveland was their guy. You can also tell the coaching staff is thrilled. During his post-selection call, the head coach even said, "You were my top choice. We believe completely in what you bring as an athlete." That says everything. Draft experts are projecting that while Loveland might not be the guy you want in the trenches full-time, his quickness, soft hands, and field awareness are gonna make him a go-to weapon in the passing game. Some comparisons are already being thrown around, with names like Sam Laporta popping up, and even some flashes of Zach Ertz when you watch how he moves in space. Even though my personal preference was Warren, I really do see the upside here. There's a strong chance Loveland turns out to be a steal, even though it's not the direction I would have gone first. Both Loveland and Warren look poised to have strong NFL careers. No doubt about that. Now, remember how the Bears traded up earlier? Everyone thought they were targeting Ashton Gentry, and that move kind of messed up the original draft plan. it made it harder to pull off a deal before the teams ahead of him could pounce. Ultimately, they didn't get Gentry, but that's how the board falls sometimes. Instead, they end up with Colston Loveland, a guy who could end up being a centerpiece in their new-look offense. Looking ahead, day 2 is going to be huge. Chicago still has 3 picks on Friday, and they need to make the most of them. They're in a great position to scoop up some serious talent. The main focus now is adding 2 impact players, minimum. Ideally, you want to land guys who can start or contribute heavily right away. They're sitting in a sweet spot with picks 39 and 41 in the second round, and another selection later on, which gives them a lot of flexibility. This is where good front offices separate themselves, nailing these day 2. Picks can change the future of the franchise. There are still a ton of exciting players on the board. Will Johnson is one name that jumps out, although there are some concerns about a lingering knee issue. That might make him a riskier pick, but if he's healthy, he'd be a great addition. Cornerback isn't the Bears' biggest need, but talent. Like, that is hard to pass up if he slips. Mike Green is another interesting prospect, though character concerns have reportedly made several teams hesitant. It's going to be fascinating to see where he ends up. On the offensive side, there are some explosive options still sitting there. Luther Burden and Nikai Minwari could both be fantastic grabs around 39 or 41. Then you have pass rushers like Donovan Ezeruaku, who fits better in a 3-4 scheme, but still brings value wherever he lands. Trayvon Henderson is another intriguing name at running back, and personally, I'd love to see him in Chicago's backfield. Speaking of running backs, the Bears could definitely target one in the second round. They need a long-term complement or successor to Swift, and guys like Quinshon Judkins or Caleb Johnson make a lot of sense. Judkins, in particular, has the vision, power, and hands to be a 3-down back at the next level. If it were up to me, I'd rank Judkins ahead of Johnson and Henderson for the Bears specifically. It just comes down to fit doc. Xavier Watts and Shada Sanders are also names to keep an eye on, depending on how the board shakes out. There's still plenty of talent left across every position, and the Bears are in a prime spot to make some noise. Defensive tackle, edge rusher, offensive tackle, you name it, there's opportunity to upgrade almost every unit. The important thing now is for the Bears to stay patient but aggressive. Don't reach, but don't hesitate to move up if there's a guy you absolutely believe in. This draft is far from over, and there's a real chance to walk away with a foundational class if they play their cards right. Shifting focus a little bit, when it comes to evaluating the best available players going into day 2, there's a strong feeling that Chicago could go in a number of directions depending on how the board falls. Some fans are rooting for them to grab another offensive weapon, others want defensive help, and a few believe the trenches need to be the top priority. One of the names that keeps coming up is Mike Green, although his off-the-field concerns have scared quite a few teams. His talent, though, is undeniable, and if a team feels comfortable with his background checks, he could easily be a steal. In the second round, another interesting case is Ezra, a guy with great skill but questionable fit in Chicago's current defensive system. It's not always about pure talent. Sometimes it's about whether a player fits into what you're building. That's a major factor the front office will weigh when they're on the clock. Nick Scorton is another player that could come into play. He fits the mold of the kind of edge rusher Dennis Allen usually targets. Long, quick, relentless. If Chicago wants to add more heat to their pass rush rotation, Scorton could be a real asset. As the second round unfolds, names like Princely Umanmielen, Jack Sawyer, and even Osa Dejo might start flying off the board, and while none are surefire stars, they offer a ton of upside if developed properly. The third round could see a run on these types of prospects, and that's where scouting departments really earn their paychecks. Talking about defensive tackles for a second, this class has a solid group that could be available in the third round. Players like Alfred Collins, Darius Alexander, and TJ Sanders stand out to me as guys who could anchor the middle of the defense and cause chaos up front. Deon Walker is another name floating around. Though, to be honest, I think some analysts are way higher on him than I am. Sometimes you just trust your eyes and instincts. And to me, Walker seems a bit more limited than the hype suggests. Omar Norman is someone I'm very intrigued by. He's shown flashes of being a dynamic pass rusher from the interior. And CJ West is another solid run stuffer who could help shore up the defensive line. Switching over to the offensive side again, When you look at the remaining offensive tackles, Orente Oseri probably tops the list. After him, there's a noticeable drop-off to players like Trapeo, Cam Williams, and Logan Brown, who are more late second or early third round types. Anthony Belton is another name that could surface. He's raw but athletic, and sometimes you bet on traits if you believe your coaching staff can develop them. If Chicago wants to bolster the offensive line, these are the guys they'll be looking at over the next few rounds. On the interior offensive line, Tate Ratledge is someone who stands out to me. He's tough, he's physical, and while there's no guarantee he cracks the starting lineup immediately, the talent is definitely there. Marcus Ball is another intriguing guard prospect, and Savion Hines offers some versatility with experience at both guard and tackle. That kind of flexibility is invaluable when injuries hit or when you need to mix and match personnel throughout a long season. Guys like Milne are more developmental prospects, but they can be groomed into starters if given time. Looking even further ahead to day 3, there's a lot of value that could come from the linebacker and safety groups. Several players projected for day 2 might slip simply because of positional value or minor red flags. At linebacker, the board is wide open. Chicago could find a guy who contributes on special teams right away and eventually competes for a starting job. Same with the safeties. It's a deep group, and while the Bears don't have a desperate need there, adding a smart physical defensive back never hurts. You're always one injury away from needing depth. As we move into day 3, some players who many thought would be day 2 picks will still be hanging around. It happens every year. Talent slides, boards get shuffled, and teams with patience get rewarded. One player I'm keeping an eye on is Devin Neal, a running back who brings a complete skill set but maybe isn't flashy enough to get picked early. Still, those are the types of guys who quietly carve out 8 to 10 year careers. On the edge rusher side, Princely and Oman could be excellent third round swings. Even Jack Sawyer, if he slips, would be a fantastic value play. Meanwhile, players like Oladejo have seen their stocks rise after strong pre-draft processes. He's part of that second wave of defensive tackles who should start coming off the board early in round 3. The same goes for some of the guards and centers. There's a clear teardrop after the top few interior linemen, but that second group is solid and full of future starters. There's a lot happening and a lot of scenarios to consider, but here's the key. Chicago cannot afford to get cute. They need to stick to their board, trust their scouts, and make good football decisions. Trading up is on the table if someone they love starts to slip, but the sweet spot is letting the draft come to them. That's how smart teams build consistent winners. They don't chase. They trust the work they've put in. As far as building out the offense goes, adding another weapon would be fantastic, but it's got to be the right guy. Someone who complements DJ Moore, Roman Dunn, and DeAndre Swift. There's no point adding a body just to add a body. It has to be someone who brings a different element to the offense. A big slot receiver, a vertical threat, or maybe another tight end who can flex out wide. Whatever the case, the goal is to make life easier for your quarterback and harder for opposing defenses. Defensively, the focus should be on finding players who fit the system and can grow into bigger roles. You don't necessarily need day 1 starters at every spot, but you want guys who can contribute in packages on special teams and eventually push for starting jobs. The front 7 in particular could use more young, fresh legs, whether that's edge rushers, linebackers, or interior linemen. There's no shortage of needs. In the secondary, even though it's not a massive need, taking a swing on a talented corner or safety could pay off big down the line. Injuries happen, and depth matters. Plus, defensive backs who can cover, tackle, and play special teams are incredibly valuable, especially as the season wears on and the roster gets tested. Going back to running backs quickly, if Chicago decides to double dip, add another back, it wouldn't be shocking. They could go for a speedster to complement Swift, or a bigger back who can handle short yardage and goal line work. Someone like Judkins would be ideal if he's still there. But even later options like R.J. Harvey, Samson Evans, or Isaiah Scadaboo offer different skill sets that could fit depending on the offense's evolving identity. Overall, day 2 of this draft is going to be just as important as day 1, if not more. The first round pick sets the tone, but day 2 is where rosters are truly built. It's the chance to find starters, to build depth, and to create competition across the board. and the Bears have 3 swings at it tomorrow. It's a huge opportunity, and if they hit on even 2 out of 3, this could go down as a pivotal draft class that helps define the next era of Chicago football. Tomorrow is going to be a roller coaster, no doubt about it. Players will come off the board faster, trades will happen, and fan bases will ride the highs and lows with every pick. But if Chicago stays true to their board, trusts their evaluations, and stays aggressive when the moment calls for it, they'll be just fine. There's no need to panic, no need to reach. The work has been done. Now it's about executing the plan. Let's see how it all unfolds when the second day kicks off. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a surprising move that has captured the attention of NFL fans, wide receiver Keenan Allen is leaving the Chicago Bears. Known for his exceptional skills and leadership on the field, Allen's departure marks the end of a chapter that many didn't anticipate. While the reasons behind his exit remain unclear, the move raises questions about the future of both Allen and the Bears. Keenan Allen, who has been a consistent force in the league, made his mark primarily with the Los Angeles Chargers before making a move to the Bears. His talent as a wide receiver is unquestionable, boasting excellent route running, hands that can make almost any catch, and a knack for making clutch plays in high-pressure situations. His arrival in Chicago was seen as a key piece for the team's offensive unit, which had been in search of a reliable pass catcher to help elevate their quarterback play. However, after spending only a short time with the Bears, Allen is now seeking new opportunities elsewhere. This unexpected exit has sparked conversations about whether the team's current trajectory aligns with Allen's expectations and career goals. Despite being a vital part of the Bears' offense, the team has struggled in recent seasons to find sustained success. This may have contributed to Allen's decision to part ways with the organization. The Bears, who had high hopes for Allen's impact on their offensive strategy, are now left to reassess their roster and move forward without one of their top receiving threats. With the NFC North as competitive as ever, Chicago will need to find a way to fill the void left by Allen's departure. The team's front office will likely turn its attention to the upcoming draft and free agency in search of a new playmaker to join their ranks. For Keenan Allen, the decision to leave the Bears opens up new possibilities for the future. His experience and proven ability to perform at the highest level make him a valuable asset to any team in need of a top-tier wide receiver. The question now is where Allen will land next and how his new team will utilize his skills to further elevate their offense. As the NFL offseason continues to unfold, fans are sure to keep a close eye on where Allen's journey takes him next. The departure of a player like Keenan Allen always carries weight, but it also creates an opportunity for both the player and the team to move in new directions. For Chicago, it is a moment to reflect on their approach and potentially reshape their strategy going forward. For Allen, the future is uncertain, but one thing is clear: his talent will not go unnoticed for long. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.